Welcome, everybody. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, April 17, 2024. Everybody please rise. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to honor Officer Michaels, okay? So we're going to go to 11A under new business. Consider a motion to promote Officer Mark Michaels from part-time officer to the position of full-time officer with the Aston Township Police Department. Commissioner Doherty.
Conditional appointment of full-time probationary police officer. I would like to make a motion that this board appoints police officer Mark Michaels of Aston to the position of full-time probationary officer at an hourly rate of $36.47. Once appointed as a full-time officer, Mark Michaels will undergo a one-year probationary period. The effective date for police officer Michaels to full-time is April 27, 2024, in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Congratulations. Does anybody come up, take some pictures, Chief? Come on, Chief.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mark.
Why don't you in the middle?
Congratulations. Everybody see how good John Nardone looks in the uniform now? Okay. Now we're going to go back up top again. Item number 3, review and approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 2024.
I make a motion to review and approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 20th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. All right, number 4, we have committee reports. Mr. Tinsley.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I'll be reading the permits and license report. This report is for the licenses for March 2024. We had a starting balance of $103,078. The income from building permits and general contractor licenses, it was a total of $134,142.61. Total electrical for the month of March was $2,003.44. The total plumbing and heating for the month was $3,672.93. The income from the Board of Health licenses was $26.75. The income from the peddlers and vendors permit was $1,200. The income from the certificates of occupancy was $1,400. The income from the rental licenses was $6,500. And lastly, the income from the street openings was $485. In total, for the month, the revenue was collected was $153,092.98. And the total this year so far has been $256,170.98.
Thank you. Mr. Berry?
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I have the police report for incidents occurred during March of 2024. Incidents handled, 546. Accident investigations, 32. Criminal investigations, 26. Criminal cases cleared, 27. Clearance rate Part 1 was 112%. Clearance rate Part 2 crime was 100%. And automatic license plate readers, Pennell and Concord, over $1 million. Pennell and Dutch Mill, 797,000. Concord and Dutch Mill Road, 731,000 plus. Concord and Aston Mills, 600,000 plus. Concord and Bridgewater, 562,000. And on another note, I'd like to say that we had the traffic calming on Tuscany. Tuscany Road speed hump proposal was turned down by the residents, and they should receive a letter in another week or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Prendergast, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. Public Works Directory Activity Report for March 2024. Completed structural work on the pavilion at Ware Park. Cut and removed fallen trees from retention area at Aston Mills and Mount Road. Repaired or replaced 4 sections of guardrail on New Road. Began spring cleaning and mulching of all parks, islands, and ball fields. Replaced damaged vinyl fencing at Valley Brook Chase. 162 potholes were filled using 6 tons of cold patch asphalt. The sanitation department picked up 59 tons of recycling and 445 tons of residential waste. The following roads are state-owned and maintained: Pennell Road, Concord Road, Knowlton Road, Bridgewater Road, Dutton Mill Road, Aston Mills, Bernie Highway, Bodley Road, and Menai Road. If you have any maintenance or safety issues on any of these roads, please contact PennDOT at 610-566-0972. The next Metal and Appliance Week is May 6th to the 10th. Please have your trash at the curb by 6 a.m. on your designated trash day. Any questions or complaints, please contact Wes Palmore, Director of Public Works, at 610-494-8005. And that's my end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now John Docker is going to tell us all about the money.
Okay, I have before me the Treasurer's Report for March 2024. Operating cash for general fund as of March 31st was $6,531,960. Other funds include the TD Bank escrow checking account with a balance of $667,019. The Pliget account with a balance of $9,643,822. The TD Bank capital checking account with a balance of $1,030,593. The total cash balance for the township as of March 31st, 2024 was $25,093,554, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowden, please.
I have a report from the library.
Are you going
Bingo is to benefit the Aston Public Library will be Saturday, May 4th. Bingo is 6 to 9. Doors will open at 4:30. Admission is $25. All cash prizes. No one under 18 will be admitted. Alcoholic beverages are prohibited. The library's annual bookmark design contest for school-aged children is underway. An entry form is available at the library or downloaded at www.astonlibrary.org. The deadline will be April 30th. The winners will be displayed at the library. The library will be having a movie showing of Ferrera on Friday, May 3rd at 11 a.m. Ready, Set, Go, Friday, April 19th is at 11 a.m. Reduce the risk of falls with the in-depth look at balance and fall prevention. Attendees will also have an opportunity to participate in the free fall screening presented in partnership with Kinetic Physical Therapy. And from the Park and Recreation Committee, we'll be having a movie night free to all residents and children of Aston on Saturday, May the 18th, 6 o'clock at the Community Center. The movie is Kung Fu Panda 4. There'll be refreshments small refreshments served at no cost. And then next July 4th is our big fireworks extravaganza here at Sun Valley. We will also be having the Grease Band, free rain or shine. So if it rains on 4th of July, we will be inside the community center, and that'll start at 6:30. There will be food trucks there for your purchasing of food. And from the Aston seniors, their next meeting is April 25th, Thursday, 10:30 a.m. at the Aston Community Center. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McGinn, please.
Thank you. My first report tonight is for the Fire Committee. Fire Department and EMS continue to do a great job serving our Aston residents and nearby communities. In March alone, they had over 300 calls they responded to and continue to do it in an excellent time frame, with EMS dispatched on scene in about 7 minutes and fire dispatched the scene last month in about 8 minutes. So again, great response time and good numbers for our fire department. For a new building committee, we presented, and we'll have an update tonight on both the firm that looked for the sale of 5021 Tunnel Road, that's the old Aston Township building, as well as the high bidder there. And as we discussed last month, just a reminder, we are in the bid process in terms of for contractors for constructing a new township building, a police station, with that process ending at the end of this month. So more to come as we, once we get those bids and proceed with that process. I just want to give an update on that as well. And that's it for me, Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you, thank you. We now have a proclamation. Let me come back. I want to come back up to number 5, review and approval of the treasurer's report.
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. And we want to do number 6, review and approval of the bills and payroll report.
I make a motion to approve the bills and payroll report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Now, we will go to item 7, proclamation, and Mr. Doherty is going to handle that.
Okay. So Township of Aston, Delaware County, Pennsylvania proclamation. Whereas the Board of Commissioners, Township of Aston, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, desires to honor Sister Elizabeth Betty Kirk of St. Francis de Sales. And whereas Sister Betty is the firstborn of the Kirk family who left home to enter the congregation of the Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia at Our Lady of Angels Convent on September 8, 1956, at the age of 18. Sister Betty professed her first vows on August 10, 1959, and professed her final vows on August 11, 1965. And whereas Sister Betty taught at St. Francis de Sales Parish for 2 years, sometime between 1960 and 1963, where she taught 7th grade under Father Joseph Martin, who was the pastor. Sister Betty ended her teaching ministry in elementary and secondary schooling when she was elected to leadership positions in her congregation. When leadership ministry ended in December of 1989, Sister Betty was given a sabbatical year, which ended in August of 1990. Following Sister Betty's sabbatical, she came to St. Francis de Sales Parish to live and minister. And whereas Sister Betty signed her contract for the position of pastoral associate on August 2nd, 1990. During that time, and under the direction of Father Vance's pastorship, the position developed and involved visitation to the homes of all parishioners. An RCIA program was started along with a weekly prayer group to focus on understanding how the Sunday Scripture related to our daily lives. Throughout Sister's many years of ministry and service, many parishioners have become brothers and sisters to her, helping her to become much more aware of what it means to use all the strengths and even the weaknesses to bring the presence of God to others. And whereas Sister Betty began her ministry in September of 1990, and on May 29, 2024, after 33 plus years, will be moving into the next phase of her life at the congregation's retirement convent, the CC House in Aston. And now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners recognizes the retirement of Sister Betty Kirk, duly proclaimed the 17th day of April 2024, signed for by all the commissioners. Sister Betty couldn't be here this evening, so this proclamation will be given to her at a later date.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to have 2 presentations. And Mr. McGinn, would you like the intro, please?
Yeah, first, thank you, Commissioner Higgins. presentation today we have is from Colliers. Brian McCurdy, I'll let him turn it over to him in a second and his team. But Colliers was engaged by the township about a year or so ago, went through a process and looked at various firms to represent the township and basically sell the property for us. I think I'll let Brian and his presentation speak for itself, but Colliers has been very professional as we've gone through this and taken the township through a process that we're not generally in the business of selling property. So between Colliers and certainly a number of folks on the board, Mike Madron in particular as a solicitor, kind of making sure we follow the first-class township code and through this process. And so I'll turn it over to Brian to walk through a presentation for the board and the audience today to go through what that process was and how we got to where we're at tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Can everyone hear me okay, or did you need me to come up to the microphone?
Yeah, why don't you bring him in? He's got his laptop here.
I promise I would have projected and yelled at all of you for the next few minutes, but thank you. So we were engaged to sell the property known as 5021 Bell Road about a year ago. I'm joined today by my colleague Todd Sussman. Brad Boone is another colleague of ours who could not make it tonight, but the three of us have been the brokerage team that was selling this property on your behalf and introduced this property on your behalf to the market just about a year ago, initially when we were engaged. In front of you is a short offering memorandum that we put together as part of our sales process to highlight some of the attributes of Aston Township and also the property as well as the commercial corridor that is known as Pinnell Road. So we went ahead and we highlighted some of the area businesses, the traffic counts, the zoning, et cetera, to really try to bring about some of the attributes of the township. I just kind of wanted to highlight that really at the start because it was, I think, a really nice opportunity for the township to promote themselves. So we went to market July 10th of 2023 initially after a short pre-marketing phase where we put together the marketing materials. As part of that, we started to put together e-blasts. We listed the site on a website known as Real Capital Markets that is an aggregated website for investors across the country. And we also have our own investor list. So through those channels, we put together a list of about 6,200 investor contacts, both that are made up of both local and national groups. And we went to market with that. We also put a sign up on the property for anybody who was local and was driving by, but we made sure that it was really listed in areas that could be seen by national investors and also primarily my colleague Todd here, who has great relationships with a lot of the retail and commercial developers in the area. We had our own database of, I would say, vetted investors. The initial round of offers were due on October 25th. We collected those offers, and we had several offers that came in at exactly the same price point. There were 4 offers total that came in at that time that met our asking price of $1.75 million. But because we had several offers that came in at the same price and there were a couple of challenges with each of the offers, the decision was made to go back out to market a second time since we did not have a clear winner in that first round. So we took the property back out to market again this year in February 1st of this year for a short marketing period to kind of break the logjam that we had. And it was very successful. We went back out to the same contacts that we had gone to the first time. And ultimately we were able to achieve higher pricing in the second round doing so. That call for offers was made on February 24th. Offers were due on March 5th. And since then, we've been kind of in a review period with, I think we have a highest price winner that we've now achieved. So that highest price did come from Yakabuchi companies. They submitted two offers, or an offer with really two options. One of which was a $1.9 million offer to build 37 townhomes on the site and a retail center in the front. We also had several other offers that were good offers that did not match the same pricing. Yakabuchi companies also submitted an offer for $2.2 million that would be 62 multifamily units and a retail center in front. So at this time, the marketing process has been finished, and the offers are in, and we're, I guess, at a decision point.
Commissioner Higgins.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's for you, but open up. I certainly had a couple of questions, but does the board have any questions of Brian and Todd in terms of the process?
Any of the commissioners have any questions? Anybody up this end? Okay, Joe.
Just to
Yeah.
elaborate and clarify. So could you take a moment and we talked in terms of the highest offer, but what some of the other interest was and what type of businesses were interested in the site and those offers?
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to get it into a handful of investors that really came back with a number of different uses in mind and looked at it for a number of different ways. I'll talk first, and I will answer the question, but I want to mention some uses that got looked at that offers ultimately weren't generated from. We did have some developers look at it for a hotel use. Ultimately, it was determined by those developers and I guess the hotel operators that there was a challenge with the vacancy rate during the week. Weekends, they were confident they could hit their numbers, but the weekday was a challenge for the hotel operators, and so ultimately that developer did not come through with an offer because their operator fell out. And we also had a few groups looking at it for self-storage as well. We did have one group put forth an offer for self-storage with either a quick service or a fast casual restaurant in the front. That offer did not meet the highest price, but that would have been a self-storage unit in the back and quick service restaurant in the front. We also had another developer look at it in the first round. Our first round of offers for a grocery store. And in fact, there were two grocers that this developer tried to work with. He submitted the offer with the grocery store in mind. However, we learned as we were reviewing those initial offers that the grocery store had determined that the site didn't quite work for them because of the layout of the site. It was a little bit too small. They weren't quite able to fit their model on the site. And this was one of the smaller grocers. I think we had both Aldi and Lidl take a look at it through this developer. We've had another multifamily group that looked at it as well and put forth an offer. Am I missing anything else, Todd?
No, I mean, some of the other offers, the right partners had a retail use for the front, and again, they were going to do some sort of a residential play in the back. I think it was going to be apartments at that point.
Yeah, we tailored our marketing towards commercial and retail uses to try to attract those types of users, and we made sure we got in front of a lot of those guys. The frontage of the property does not lend itself well to a retail use, so that was a challenge for some of those developers. So I think that's probably why we got most of the uses that we received back were residential in nature, at least to some degree.
Thank you. And one of the things I know we all get on the board and people around town talk in terms of growth, right? New business, new development, things like that in terms of town. So, Brian and Todd as not, developers yourself, but folks that work with a lot of developers, not just in Delaware County, but in the Philadelphia area, but all across the gamut. You just highlight for us and maybe for those, in the audience and watching at home, what you've kind of found in terms of what attracted folks to the area, and maybe, a couple of things that were challenges for developers as they looked at the site.
So again, Brian touched on some of the challenges as it presented for retailers because of the frontage, the minimal frontage of the site. In addition to that, the topography of the site, because the site does go down in the rear, it made it a little bit harder to have something from a retail perspective. Retail really needs visibility. Industrially, this was really not something that they looked for. It was too small for most industrial developers. Residential, it really just attracted a lot of residential developers for it. Retail right now is a very, very difficult thing to develop right now, pricing wise. There's only a certain number of retailers out there that are worth spending the money to develop for. So for an investor to come in and buy the property, they need a public company, they need a big national tenant, so they have an exit strategy on the back end. So when you develop for a local retailer, there's no value to the developer. So they really need to have, whether it be an AutoZone, a Starbucks, they need somebody large. The Lidl and the Aldi were big, large public companies and large operators, which would have justified it. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it because of the topography of the site.
Thanks. And we talked about it, but could you talk about what the list price was and refresh that again in terms of list price and ultimately what the highest bid was?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the list price, the asking price was $1,750,000, and through this final round of offers, 1.9 million was the offer from Yakabuchi companies.
Thank you. And Mike, I think it's a good opportunity, because it's a learning process, at least for me, and I'm sure for my colleagues, in terms of this isn't just we're not just a private owner that can sell land and decide use, but there's some real guidelines through the first class township code. So if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, Joe, you have some significant restrictions in that everything has to be sold basically auction style, so all the bids were due on a particular day, and you open them up and you look at the highest, you're kind of bound by the highest as long as it complies with all of the specifications. I know that Todd and Brian have up the various offers, and people might see the $2.2 million offer from Yakabuchi next to the $1.9 million offer here. What we found when Joe and I went through and vetted that through the zoning code was we just feel like the 1.9 is a much more practical offer as far as constructability, and of course it's less density for the neighbors as well. So the recommendation that we came up with to the board was that the $1.9 million offer was the appropriate one for you to take.
Thanks, Mike. I didn't have any more questions.
Okay, again, anybody on the board have any questions further?
No.
The professionals, any further questions? Bill, Kelly, you guys have anything? Okay. If you're out there in the audience, you would like to ask a question, come up to the podium, please. I couldn't find you earlier, Nick. I didn't realize you were back there.
Changed his seat, Mike.
State my name. Nicholas Penza, Aston, PA, 130 Morgan Road. Just for my notes, what was the 1.9 for? How many residentials?
37.
37 townhomes.
And the rent, 37, and you said a retail
Correct.
area?
Correct.
And then the 2.2 mil was for 65?
62.
62 in the retail area. Okay, now I have an actual question. Now, since they're still just in the accepting the bid phase, can Iabuchi still back out of it if they want?
Mike, would you take care of that?
There will be some limited due diligence period, where, you know, they'll have to do some environmental testing and that sort of thing, and make sure that the site is practical for the purpose they want to use it for. As far as the number, 1.9 is the number, so this will either sell for 1.9 or it won't sell.
Well, no, my concern is they back out because the market's not good. Because remember, casual business here was telling us, oh, the magical interest rates are gonna go down, but they're not now, are they? So I'm afraid that they're
Nick,
gonna try and back down.
You said the bubble was popping. I think you popped it. And, you know, thus far it hasn't, right? You know, I understand the desire to come up here and say I told you so, and I guess we'll have to see what happens during this due diligence period. But we are restricted by the first-class township code. You know, I mean, we have to go through a process. This is the process, and this is where we sit tonight.
Thank you, Nick. Sir, come on up.
Bob Clemens, 812 Lamppost Lane. Bob Clemens, 812 Lamppost Lane, Aston. Just a question. You're talking about the old police building, right? Is there going to be anything to look at the current traffic that exists, in particular between Wawa and Five Points is today already pretty tough? And if you're going to add 63, I thought that's what I heard you say, 37 incremental properties on there, I mean, it's might need to look at something. I don't know if that's part of the negotiation with any of the people that are looking at buying it. Because if you got the data, it's just going up year after year after year. The cars are going through there. So it's just a question.
Yeah, I think, Bob, one of the things, sorry, Tom. One of the things that, you know, we looked at when we were considering what to do with the two bids that came in, what was the intensity of use and the amount of traffic that we put there. I will say that, you know, our experience is that residential use is sort of less intensive from a traffic perspective because people come once and go once. There will be retail out front because that's what our zoning requires there, but it's going to be small retail the size of a, you know, I don't think we say fast food anymore. There's probably another term that I don't know. QSR, quick service restaurant. You know, that sort of size that won't add a ton of traffic at a time. So it was a consideration for sure.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? No questions from the tax collector? He's just thinking about all the tax dollars he's going to get in here.
All the work I have to do.
That's right.
That's good.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to second presentation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for explaining that to us. I appreciate it. Joe, thanks for your comments. And Michael. Okay, so do you want to talk about the Akabuchis or?
Yeah, sure. If the representatives from Akabuchi Properties will come up, they're going to give a presentation, as we mentioned, through, and thank you, Brian and Todd, for kind of the work, all the work you've done to get us to this point. We certainly recognize there's more work to be done to get to the close and you know, receive the funding for the property. As Mike, manager and solicitor indicated, this was a high bid situation. This was the high bid that came in for the property. So we thought it was appropriate, and I will mention this, and I'm sure Commissioner Higgins, you can, as chair of new construction, you can emphasize and talk about it, but this is still a process that has to go through the whole new construction phase. So even though it's a township property that we're selling, it still has to go through that whole process. So there will be ample opportunities for folks to review make comments and refine this so that it is in the best interest of Aston Township. But I'm trying to filibuster a little as you guys get your slides together. But so that's the process we're at now. I know Adam is a solicitor here. I'll let you introduce the team as we kind of get going and allow you guys to present.
Thank
Go
you.
from there.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. For those who don't know me, my name's Adam Matlowski, a longtime attorney here in Delaware County. And I represent Raymond Iacobucci Communities LLC and RIC Municipal Center LLC. It's two different. Is that a little better? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Here on behalf of RIC, and I'm just here to start by introducing the team of folks that are going to be working on this project through the approvals that we have to get and all that. Again, I'm an attorney. Most of you, I think, know Matt Hoopman with Hoopman Engineers. Matt is the design engineer on this project and will be working with us. And we'll also work with Kumar Skinner of Bernardin Architects and Planners on this. And from Iacobucci's, we have Steve Iacobucci, Raymond Iacobucci, who I believe many of you know, and also Mitch Crest from the Iacobucci Companies is here as well. These folks are very excited at this opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for them and a real nice opportunity for Aston as well. And what we'd like to do is Steve's just going to give you a little bit of what it might look like, what the feel is for Iacobucci's and why they wanted to do this, and here to answer any questions. Of course, we know we're just at the outset here, but just to give you a little flavor of what the offer really is and what it looks like. So with that, if I may turn it over to Steve.
I have three boards here, if it's okay. I'll put them up on easel. I also have handouts if you prefer. I can pass those out as well.
By the way, the Iacobucci's aren't new to Aston Township, nor is Matt Hootman. Adam's not new to us. So over my 18 years, we've dealt with each other over the years. So just so everybody knows that they understand Aston as well as a lot of people do. So that's a plus for us.
Steve, Adam isn't too high priced to hold those.
Well, sometimes I charge a premium for that, but I wouldn't tonight.
Pass these around too. It's the same as what's on the board. Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Adam. Thank you, commissioners. We're excited for the opportunity to work with you on the redevelopment of the former municipal property. My name is Steve Iacobucci, and I'm here with RIC Municipal Center LLC. We are land developers and home builders since 1955. And as Adam mentioned, we've worked in the greater Delaware County area, including Aston, all during that time. So, this property is located in the heart of Aston Township. It's in great walking distance to restaurants, food service, retail, fitness, and other amenities that are really important to homeowners today. So our preliminary concept plan offers 37 homes, so a 37 home community that is a single entry with a cul-de-sac. And we have a approximately 5,000 square foot commercial center at the entrance to the community. So we have the commercial along the commercial sections and residential that borders the existing residential areas in this portion of the township. And we have an alternative plan. So the lower board here is the commercial building, which is at the entrance. And we have an alternative plan, which could be a pocket park at the entrance to the community, which would replace the commercial building, but would offer an amenity for all the township residents. So this program will have trees, landscape, patioed area, seating area, and a street light program that we think would help enhance the connectivity from the commercial on both sides of the community. So I have with us our development team, and we are all very excited to be a part of this plan, and we're available to answer any additional questions that you might have. Thank you.
Commissioners? No questions, Lester?
How's this time?
John? Questions? Nance? Joseph?
Yeah, so a couple things, just kind of building off of what Mike Madron had said too, is that, in terms of the, obviously the bid, in terms of the 1.9, if you guys can elaborate on the timing of that in terms of the contingencies that were put in the bid, and, an understanding from the developer, on the, 1.9 billion being a bid in the situation we're in a first-class township code and not a negotiation.
Right. Yeah, it's a hard bid condition on the ability to have 37 units. I mean, that's the major condition. But it's not a sliding scale. It's 1.9 million for that, provided we got all the approvals to do that. What we're proposing is roughly a 90-day due diligence period, right? 90-day due diligence period, just to do the things that normally we have to do to make sure that we're able to actually build this and do the environmental testing and all that to make sure that it's feasible for us. But after that, the only contingency really is to get the approvals for the units and all that. There's no financing contingency. We're not, it's not contingent on us being able to finance this through some mortgage financing or anything. Yakabuchis are putting their own money into this. I think this is a great project. So that, from that standpoint, the $1.9 million is a hard number. I think it's already been 1,000 put down, right? Okay. So, and all the deposits obviously would go toward the purchase at the time of closing. And I think, I was looking at this just a minute ago, but the idea would be that the closing would occur within 15 days after expiration of any appeals periods from when we get the approvals. Because this obviously has to go through the land development process, right? And, the township will have an opportunity, obviously, to participate, to make sure that you're comfortable with how this works. But once those approvals come, and there's a 30-day appeal period, after that passes, we will close within 15 days for that.
Thanks. And I know it was talked a little bit about before, but is there a willingness in addition to, kind of the traditional meetings with new construction, planning, zoning, whatever's required, et cetera, that there'd be an opportunity to have a meeting with the neighbors to discuss the development, in advance?
Yeah, we've talked about that internally and understood that was something that the township might like. And I know this organization has done that in the past with other developments in other towns where you sort of a pre-meeting, with the neighbors, and just introduce yourself, get some of their comments, and work that into the planning process. They're more than happy to do it.
Thank you.
I just want to add for the audience, Adam elaborated on it, but we're just not going to, when they get their preliminary work done, say, okay, come in and start digging and everything like that. This is going to go through the prescribed process that's required by the state. So I think we have to, we're going to go in and have a preliminary informational meeting. That'll be for any residents that would like to come, ask questions, show concerns or whatever. So we're going to do that. That works out good. And that'll be the first thing we do before anybody does anything in the way of land development. Then we'll go in front of the Planning Commission, and that'll either be once or twice depending on how this pans out. then there'll be a new construction committee. And at this point, we don't know if there'll be any need to go to zoning, but if there is a need, we'll go to zoning too. So there is a formal process that we have to go through. So the other thing is, this is in my ward. What I like about this project is that it's going to improve an unsightly parcel of land. Even when the township was there, it was just unsightly. It was old, you know, and it had reached its useful life, then some. And then there's people that live adjacent on Richard Road, where there are some concerns for drainage and runoff and that kind of stuff. And I think with the Akabuchis coming in and developing this land, they'll make any issues to do with drainage work. They have to make it work. And so I look at it as a plus, not only for the appearance, but for the aspects of stormwater management. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm very pleased that they're going to be doing the work. And like I said, they have a lot of experience dealing with Aston Township over my 18 years, but then prior to that too. So if anybody else out in the audience would like to ask some questions, Nick, anybody else, please feel free to come up and ask your questions. Oh yeah, yes, sure. I'm sorry.
Well, Nick's getting ready to come up. Adam, you know, I just want, probably obvious to those of us who do this every day, but not obvious to the rest of the world, that that's just a concept, right, at this point, right? It's not fully engineered, it's not.
Oh, sure.
This is to show what it could look like, right?
Absolutely. As your chairman just said, I mean, this has to go through the process. We have to comply with the land development ordinances. We have to engineer this so that the stormwater works. There was a question about traffic. You know, PennDOT will have a look at this because there's, so it may not look exactly like this at the end. You're right. This is a concept, but we think this will work, and it's had some preliminary engineering, but it does have to go through that entire process. And we don't get approvals, and we don't get one permit until the township is signed off on.
Adam, the other thing is, Kelly's going to want to put this up on the website. So if you could provide the electronic stuff for her. In fact, when you come in again, if you're going to do any more presentations, we'd like to have it electronic. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, I think I had told them there was not going to be a TV, and I was surprised to see one. I wanted to make a couple of comments too, is that as everybody's indicated, this is a long road, right, that they have to go through. This will take the better part of a year to develop plans, come in, go to all the meetings, get PennDOT approvals. They've got to go through the NPDES process, which is a state permit. That takes a long time. So this is not going to happen tomorrow. But we also have to remember that this is not a virgin piece of ground, right? There already was runoff from this property because the township had a lot of impervious on the site already. 2 buildings, parking lots, salt barns, all those type of things. To the gentleman that asked about traffic, there already was traffic from this site over the years with police in and out and people coming to the township building. So there already was a lot of activity on this site to begin with. And it's just a matter of how this stacks up to those certain type of things. So from the runoff standpoint, is this more impervious than what was there before? That all remains for Mr. Hoopman to work out all of those kind of details. But I think we have to remember that this is not a virgin piece of ground somewhere, out farm property. It already had a lot of things that were going on in the property for all the years that it was a township building.
Can I ask Mike?
Fred's question, yep.
Just looking at your drawing here, it looks like you're only going to be like 25 feet away from the houses there. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. What type of berm or wall are you going to put a berm there or a wall to separate your stuff from there?
I don't know if they're ready for that or not yet. No.
No, well, but what I'm looking at is, I thought we would have to be at least 50 feet away from residential.
No.
No? Okay.
No, we're not quite there yet, so, yeah.
Well, yeah,
This is
as
Mr.
Mike
Hoopman
said,
coming up.
everything's preliminary here, but, based on that concept, I mean, Matt can give you a little bit.
Sure, real quick, Matt Hoopman. The buildings were laid out to abide by the required side and rear yard setback in the ordinance. There will be some opportunity to buffer, certainly some plantings along the perimeter property lines. Not a whole lot of room to create berms because you need some space to grade up, across the top, and grade back down. Fencing around the perimeter is certainly would be considered, but I think that kind of isolates the different developments. I think it'll be worked out in the planning process if that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah.
Anybody else out in the audience would like to chime in?
Can I say from here, because they have the podium right now?
No, I can't see and hear you with those there. Why don't you
Can I say from
It's
here,
Nikki.
because they have the podium right now?
come up here? We like to hear you speak, Nick, that's why we want you to come up.
Should I announce myself again? Nicholas Penza, 30 Morgan Road. First off, when would that public discussion be scheduled for?
We don't, it's too early yet, we have to get there. It'll be published and everybody will get notified of it.
Now, for the 90-day due diligence period, besides the environmental testing, will that include a PennDOT traffic study? Now, Mr. Kusi, his words kind of made it sound like you're just going to go off of what's previous traffic studies he had for when it was a municipal building. And that doesn't seem right because there's going to be far more traffic.
That's not really what, that's not what I said, Nick.
I just said there was previous traffic there. There's not, they have to do their own traffic report. They have to satisfy PennDOT.
So there will be a PennDOT study, okay. Okay, now with the runoff study, there'll be a runoff study. Will that be separate from the environmental testing?
Yes.
Okay, so there will be a runoff study. All right.
Yeah, so Nick, just emphasizing, anything in terms of a new development, what would be required, things like stormwater, that has to get reviewed.
I think Nick might be asking a slightly different question than we're answering. You're asking what's included in the due diligence in particular.
No, I know what the due diligence is, I just want to know what.
Right, so
they're gonna have the,
for example, when everybody's talking about runoff, right, you've sat through enough of these, you know that you have to reduce stormwater a certain amount in order to have approved development. But that's not part of the due diligence period, that's their engineering.
No, it just is done during the due diligence period.
Well, they'll do some of their engineering during the due diligence period, but they don't have to complete it during the due diligence period. They have to complete it before they file their application for land development.
Any more, anybody else would like to come up and speak? Or comment, whatever. There's gonna be a lot of time during the process, coming to planning commission meetings, new construction meetings, most definitely the informal meeting for residents to come to. If you wanna know, then you should come to the meeting. As much as anything electronic that goes out there that we have, we will put up on the township website so you can see the plans up close and so forth. Yeah, but this is the infancy stage. I mean, they haven't filled out the forms yet to apply for land development. You know, they're just coming in and we wanted to let the folks know about the Colliers program, what they did, and then what the Akabuchis are going to be doing as the winning bid. So this is just a start, and it's the beginning of a lot to come, okay? So, again, I'm going to move on unless there's a question. Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you come in, okay? Ray, I mean, yeah. Okay, everybody. Next on here is open to the public, agenda items only. And would you like to come up? Thank you. What's on the agenda that you would like to talk about tonight?
I would like further clarification, please, on, I'm sorry, was my, actually, I didn't have the evidence, so. So Kathy Pratt, 2931 Concord Road, Aston. And I actually brought a copy of my questions for later for her, just in case.
Thank you.
Can't do it better
Right,
than
but
that.
that's not the open item. So, item C, if you could elaborate a little bit more on consideration of, consider a resolution closing out the Community Conservation Partnership Grant Project for the West Branch of the Chester Creek Trail
you?
feasibility study. So what exactly does that entail? Because I might be interpreting
Or,
something
yeah.
totally different.
So we're
Mr.
going to
Viscuso.
adopt tonight the study for the West Branch Trail, and we actually have to have a resolution closing it out for the granting agency.
So basically, my questions I have coming up later, it's a done deal.
The study is just being
The
adopted.
study, okay, so that's right. And then in conjunction with that, item F, consider a motion to approve the adoption of,
Yeah, that's the adoption.
so it's just the
Just the study.
feasibility study.
Right.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else like to come up? Agenda items only? You okay, Nick?
Yeah, I'll ask that later because it was. Oh, no, I do have to do.
Ah, there you had it when you came up, didn't you?
Sleeping giant.
Nicholas Aston, PA. I just want some clarification on what exactly you're trying to amend in the local housing ordinance. And then also what you are trying to amend in the solicitation ordinance.
All right, those are both me. The housing ordinance, really our zoning code, when I looked through the zoning code, I thought we could be better served by a different definition of family than what we have currently. And by adding a provision, a procedure for someone to come in and request a reasonable accommodation. So I crafted an ordinance for our planning commission to consider on that. And with regard to solicitation, we've taken a look at our procedures, and I think we need some adjustment on our curfews. And also, I saw the opportunity to add a do not knock list. So basically, someone could opt into, or opt out of, I guess, having commercial solicitors knock on their door. The idea is that we would provide the opportunity for people to sign up for that list. And, we would have to collect a little bit more information than we would actually provide to the solicitors, because we need to know when someone moves and that sort of thing. So we need to know the identity of the people living there. But as far as what we give to the solicitors, it would just be a list of addresses that have opted out of commercial solicitation.
Now, to get to the easier one first, when you say curfews, you're referring to business curfews?
Yeah, so we have, right now, I think it might be 10 a.m., I'm not sure, 10 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. And there's some case law that says that's an unconstitutional restriction on commercial speech. So we're gonna need to look at expanding that a little bit.
So you're trying to make it from 10:30 to 6:30 to?
It's probably gonna be something like 9 till 9 with the opportunity to opt out of having any knocking.
9 p.m.?
9 a.m. till 9 p.m.
Okay. second, what exactly do you mean by family? What part of the work?
So if you look at the definition of family in our zoning code, it doesn't include a couple concepts that the case law has evolved to be important, you know? I mean, the first is, well, we have in our rental ordinance a limitation on how many people who aren't related by blood or can be considered a family. We don't have that in our zoning code. And I think that's important, particularly when you're looking at the concept of reasonable accommodation. Second, there's some case law that pertains to Airbnbs and VRBO type uses, short-term rental uses, that latch on to the concept of a family being a single housekeeping unit. And when you define family that way in your zoning code, those uses can be precluded from your residential districts. And we don't have that at this point. So I thought it was important to have that in there as well.
Okay, what's exactly prompting this change?
Just my review of things. You know, as the years has progressed since I was appointed, I've been looking more closely at things, and you know, this was a suggestion that I had to the board that I thought could improve things.
Okay, that is all I have for now.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Anybody else? Agenda items only. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Okay. New business now, 11B. We already took care of 11A at the beginning. Announced Camp Aston information, Commissioner Bode.
Thank you. Camp Aston is scheduled to begin its 8-week session on Monday, June the 17th, and run through until Friday, August the 9th. Camp will begin at 8:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. The cost for camp is $60 for one child. Each additional child after that will receive a $5 discount. For example, one child is $60, two children $60 for the first child, and $55 for each additional child. Registration forms will be available at the Township Administration Office, 2 New Road, Suite 123, during normal business hours, or it can be printed from the Aston Township website at www.astontownship.net. Registration will open on Monday, May 6th, 2024. There will be no camp Thursday, July 4th, to observe the 4th of July holiday.
Thank you, Commissioner. So 11C under new business, Commissioner McGinn.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I'd like to make a motion for the consideration of a resolution that, if adopted, would be resolution number 2024-50. This would be a resolution closing out the Community Conservation Partnership Grant Project for the West Branch of the Chester Creek Trail feasibility study. The grant project affiliated tag is BRC-TAG-28-20. And again, this was to determine the feasibility of constructing a recreational linear trail, provide local public access to natural lands through a wooded area alongside West Branch of the Chester Creek. The plan was financed in part by a Community Conservation Partnerships Program grant under the administration of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, otherwise known as DCNR, and its Bureau of Recreation and Conservation. The project did the following things. It was completed in accordance with the DCNR grant agreement. All project expenditures have been made in accordance with the DCNR grant agreement. The plan and related materials are acceptable to Aston Township, and and the plan and related materials will be used to guide future recreation and conservation decisions. I make this in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, thank you. 11D, I guess I better read the intro. Consider a motion to accept a bid submitted by Akabuchi Companies to purchase the property at 5021 Pennell Road, Aston, PA. Commissioner McGinn.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. And again, we sat through the presentation from Akabuchi Companies as well as our agent Colliers and providing the update and how we got to this point. And with that, I make a motion to approve the sale of the Aston Township property located at 5021 Pennell Road for $1.9 million. It's parcel number 02-00-01460-01. And that sale will be to Akabuchi Companies. This sale is contingent upon the terms set forth by the township solicitor. And again, I make this in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Congratulations. Thanks for coming tonight. Item 11E, consider a motion to approve Township Solicitor to send housing ordinance amendment to Delaware County Planning for review. Commissioner Berry.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I make a motion to approve the Township Solicitor to send the housing ordinance amendment to the Delaware County Planning Department for review. That's in form of a motion.
Second.
We have a comment? Any comments? We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. 11F. Consider a motion to approve the adoption of the West Branch Trail Study Feasibility Report. Commissioner McGinn.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I make a motion to approve the adoption of the West Branch Trail Study Feasibility Report dated April 2024. This report was presented to the Board of Commissioners and public on March 20th, 2024.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Just want to make a comment. Almost a short time after Commissioner McGinn came on the board, he came to the administrator at the time saying we want to consider another trail in the town. And if you really think about it, and people really are anxious to see this kind of thing in the town. And Joe had a great idea that we'd be able to feed the trail from near the homes and the developments and so forth, so people could get on the trail and maybe not have to have a hard time parking. So I just want to thank him for his for seeing ahead and what he thought would be good for the township and the neighbors and so forth. And I think it's a good thing. So thank you for that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're up to 11G. Announce the notice of intent to amend Aston Township solicitation ordinance. Commissioner Berry.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I would like to announce notice of intent to amend the Aston Township solicitation ordinance.
Thank you.
President Higgins, could I get a motion to authorize me to advertise that ordinance? I'd like to advertise it so that you have it to consider for the next time.
Okay, you want something in here?
Yeah, motion to authorize advertising.
Do I need to repeat what you're saying, or?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'd like
Joe,
to make
thank you.
I'll make a
Yes,
second.
please.
Tom seconded.
To advertise the intent to amend the Aston Township solicitation ordinance.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions further? No. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Do we do? So we're up to escrow releases, I guess, yeah. Commissioner Tinsley, you're going to do the escrow tonight, right?
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I have three motions for the escrows. First one is Resolution 2024-51. Whereas ordinance number 240 and ordinance number 360 provide for escrow funds for completion of improvements. Whereas the Township Engineer and New Construction Committee has approved the request for escrow funds released by the Trauma Pro Springboard Boulevard and Pennell Road. Their sub-account number is 776-535-9722, folio number 0377-00, to the Aston Township General Fund. Now therefore resolved that the Aston Township execute such action as required by the Township Secretary and the President of the Board of Commissioners to release the sum of $29,000 payable to Aston Township to correct an error made between a permit fee and an escrow replenishment. This is duly noted on the 17th of April 2024 at Township of Aston. I make this in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it.
Thank you. The second of three motions. The following amount is engineering fees to be paid to Canoni Associates for the month of April. The totals $7,227.50. I make this in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it.
And the last escrow motion, the following amount is the engineering fees to be paid to Cirilli Associates Inc. for the month of April. That totals $2,857.50. I make this in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, now we're coming down the road. We have open to the public for any items that you would like to speak on. Mrs. Papp?
Kathy Papp, 2931 Concord Road, Aston. So I want to start off by saying that I am happy and proud to be an Aston resident for 64 years. And the township officials have done a good job, and even a great job, most of the time, in my opinion. A lot of aspects related to the business township handled very well and smoothly. I do have a few questions. As we know, I'm not totally opposed to the trail. However, I do have a couple questions, one of which was already answered, I guess. It was how or who was the application initiated for this proposal of the trail? So I got it was Joe, correct?
I'm sorry?
I got it. You were the first one that initiated the thought of the trail?
So I wish, I pushed it, but I wish I could take full credit. There was concept when we looked at the Parks and Rec and Open Space Plan and discussion about
Well,
it.
quite a few people wondered how it was initiated because we didn't really hear about it. My brother-in-law especially,
Yeah.
had me pose this question. So,
Yeah. So,
It wasn't
yes.
truly you, but there was some origination for this application proposal?
No, absolutely. I'm a big believer in terms of the trail and supporter of it.
Okay. And I'm not against it, however, in looking at the trail plans, there appears to be some legs or tributaries that shoot off the direct path, that linear path that we heard described. And it doesn't appear to be for parking. So I'm wondering what was the rationale of those tributaries or branches, because they don't appear to be parking, and I'm thinking they're gonna add to that cost, because again, it's a hefty chunk, $8 million, which I know we're still gonna get grants for and approvals, and it's a 4-tier program, but I did look at it. Thank you for having it on the
Yeah.
website.
So, the first part you asked in terms of is kind of where the trail branches off, right?
There's
First
quite
part
a
of the
few.
question, yeah.
Right.
So the idea and concept around that is, and again, similar to kind of land development plans, right, that we're talking about, this is in the feasibility side, so things can change through development, what happens and what doesn't. But the idea and concept of that is, and one of the things, and I've said this, I think it publicly at the meetings, certainly at least when the counties come in with the Chester Creek Trail. So, one of the challenges is nice to have, and so many people utilize that. But as it comes through Aston, people still need to get in a car and drive somewhere and park. And there's
I'm gonna be
potentially
one of them, yeah.
parking challenges. So the thought there is that, and the West Branch is a little different than Chester Creek in that, remember we talked about it, and most people don't notice it because they're not back there, but it kind of valleys down, right? It's kind of the bottom. So it's an opportunity for people that live in those developments and live near there to have access from their home. So you don't have to get in your car at all. If you lived in Hogue Lane or something like that, you could potentially walk down and access the trail. If you lived in a number of other areas, potentially like we talked about Newman University, with students there and people that live up in that area, the second ward, they could walk down and have direct access to the trail. So that would eliminate some of the need for parking for people that live there. So that's the concept of that. And as Joe Viscuso, I think, mentioned on the 20th, part of it is, there are steep slopes, and whether it was you, Joe, or one of your colleagues at Benoni, I can't remember who to rightfully attribute it to, there's slope, so it wouldn't necessarily be paved back there. But anybody that's walked on trails or in state parks, call them switchbacks, things like that you have access to. And then to your point, I think when you look at the cost, kind of the larger number is a bit of a misnomer, because $2 million is part of what that phase 3 in, that would be a road widening. And so what Benoni had stressed and what DCNR had stressed to us is that in a feasibility study, they wanted to see basically whatever the possibility
The
could
highest
be.
cost, and I appreciate that.
Not even that. So, when you look at something like just the phase 1, it's a much more in terms of estimate number in terms of 1.5 million. And as people have highlighted, and with the feasibility study, there wasn't a dollar spent in terms of Aston Township tax dollars. So we were able to, thanks to the administration, thanks to Joe Viscuso and others, take advantage of grant programs from the county,
And I
the
appreciate
state.
that. That's
Yeah.
where I said you guys do a great job,
Yeah.
times two. I mean, we don't always agree, I admit, but that part I do agree, and it is appreciative, especially because I think a lot of our concerns, and I've talked to over 150 people that had no idea about this. And if they did, they didn't know about any proposed expenses.
Yeah.
And again, because we do have a much-needed police station and communities, or office that is being built, and that hasn't even started yet. This is where the concern is. So I appreciate that. And speaking of, because I do know in our ordinance 1226.04, B and F, part of it is with the recreation. We must make sure that we have provisions of maintenance. And I know that you guys said that would be part of Aston and part of that. And also F talks about the slope not to exceed 7%, and also to 30% of land contained within the boundaries of the floodplain. So I'm sure that's all been discussed with the work that's already been done.
Yeah, so I'll let Joe talk in terms of if he wants to discuss on the engineering and some of the ordinances, but.
I don't want to go into great depth, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of,
But the key thing is, there's no question, right? So anything that we're looking at from a township standpoint, at least from my perspective, you have to follow and adhere to the township ordinance. You have to look at what's in the best interest of the township. What I will say, Kathy, is that, and you're somebody that attends meetings. So I've talked about this quite a bit in terms of public meetings. If you may remember or go back, there's no doubt about it. It's something Phil, have a strong belief in. Have a number of residents who have kind of talked about the idea. That's why I say it's not my alone idea. People that live back in that area have talked to me, because a lot of this is in the second ward, and really have an interest, a strong interest in seeing something like this happen.
and I am, again, I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to a
Yeah.
trail. Again, it's that expectation of the expense. And as I said, I mentioned to people that are even back in that area that didn't know. And honestly, when we talk about, the percentage, I'm being generous rounding up the statistical percentage of survey participants compared to the number of Aston residents, is that 0.005 that took that survey, that knew about that, because again, in my opinion, it was a passive survey, because it was on the website, and let's face it, a lot of people don't come here. Some people see it on video, but a lot of people don't. And then people don't even visit our website. Some people don't even know about it. Like I said, I talked to about over 200 people, really, and they had no idea.
Yeah.
So.
And in fairness, I bet you I could talk to 200 people So.
They
and
did
then-
know about it.
But no, my point is too, like the pavilion that we're building,
Mhm.
and people that aren't back at, behind the community center, whether their kids don't play sports at Aston AA or they're just not back there. I bet you there's a lot of people that have no idea.
And I'm
what
that avid pickleball
instructions
person
are.
that really appreciates the indoor courts.
Yeah.
However, I would love to see an outdoor one, so would a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at 8 million, what's another couple thousand? Like, so that, okay, also too, I would assume that this cost of this trail would also include ordinance 1270.21, which is about the insurance and indemnity, or would that be on an ongoing annual basis?
So I'm not an insurance expert. Mike Badger would go in. The one thing I guess, and again, it's kind of like the 5021 property sale, right? And everything is communications on projects, anything we do, vision, I look at it as it's a conversation, right? There's not just a meeting that happens once and it's done. So, what we're at is kind of literally this initial chapter, right? To put something on paper and say, this is what this would look like, this is what the cost would be. And you actually have something like what you're doing now to have that discussion and look at it, right? So, hey, is this something that, individuals are interested in and that people want that's a benefit to the township, right? All fair. And then, another part of it too is looking at to say, hey, what are costs? What are these things that we need to build? So for, we had to do that too, right? For the new township building and police station. So right now we're leasing property. We're a bit nomadic. We're here for township meetings, but we're not here. We rent space for the police station.
And I think that's what I'm looking at too,
Yeah.
because that was my other thing is that I would hope and encourage that we in fact do explore whether it be, I would strongly urge before I vote on, an election to see about this, but at least the meetings that you've held before to get the public out there to give you their opinion, because again, it's all about transparency. And again, it's about the cost. And again, I hope and pray you can get grants for the whole kit and caboodle, because I think it would be great, but we're just concerned about raising the cost.
Yeah, that's fair. But what don't you like about the trail?
The
Is it
expense, it's solely about the expense. You're looking at somebody that retired and went back to work, and I'm getting ready to retire. I'm not gonna be like the football player that retires several times. But I'm looking about our taxes, and I think our taxes, some people might say they're too high. I think they're fair, okay? But let's face it, cost of living and everything is going up. And when I hear 8 million, you're lucky to have to call 911 on me, because I was having heart palpitations, I swear. So it's about that, and everybody I've spoken to didn't know about it, and when I told them $8 million, they just about fell over too. So that's my concern. And then I also wanted to pose, because of this issue, I would like to propose that our township, especially because we're looking at the ordinances, and some of them are, as you mentioned, outdated, mostly because I'm a quality assurance auditor, and I look at things like that and review things. I did not see, and I did a lot of searching, and again, I applaud you for having the ordinances online and a searchable vehicle, but I did not see any ordinances that anywhere would provide any citation to indicate a threshold, a trigger, mandating a township vote, or issue of a high magnitude such as a high expense. And that's what I asked you guys last month, was there a trigger or a threshold that would cause a certain dollar amount to be voted on or have a public meeting or anything like that? And I would strongly implore that something like that go into an ordinance. Suggestion.
Yeah, so, a couple thoughts on that. I think it's, with a project like this, for example, it's a little bit of a challenge, right? Because you want to put something on first of all, the intent is to fund this either entirely or primarily through grants, right? Yep. So, but you can't go for the grants until you have some commitment to building the project. You put something on the agenda that says, do you want to spend $8 million, or on a ballot rather, that says, do you want to spend $8 million? But really, in reality, it might be spending zero, it might be spending, so
But
I admit that I'm off the cuff a little bit here, but I see it as a little bit more complex than just throwing something
I
on the
get that, but
ballot.
I also look at, and God help me, because I'm gonna get probably booed, but I worked for a large pharma company. And when you're doing studies, you look and you go so far, and if it's not feasible because of too much expense, not enough, then you cut your losses at that point. So that's where I'm coming at least a public meeting like we did with the township building, again, for that transparency and to get that communication out there, because like I said, unfortunately, and I was one of those people up until I retired. You guys didn't see me, and I didn't see you or listen, but I'm just strongly encouraging it. And one last thing, because I know we're short, talking about ordinances and out of date, ordinance 210.22 or .02 talks about the physical meetings of this being held on Pennell Road, which is 233 Pennell Road. So you might want to update that, or at least make it more generic.
Can you give me that
The
number?
ordinance 210.02. And again, you could make it just like standard operating procedures, make it more generic.
Or just
Not list the address,
or just repeal it, since it's in the statute anyhow. I did want to say, I think you asked a question about insurance should a trail be built. And, it would just be rolled into our park system, really. I don't think.
So it would be rolled into, if there's an expense incurred, it would just
It's gonna be
increase
a
like
parks
a normal.
expense, right, yeah.
Okay.
And Kathy, to be clear, we did have a public meeting on the trail feasibility study at Newton Road. We had some attendance, advertised.
Didn't even hear or know about that.
And mentioned it here too. But
Well, I think when you guys presented last month,
yeah.
I wasn't here the month before because I was sick, because I was like in shock. So maybe it was announced then,
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was at least 6 months or so ago, 9 months ago. So, yeah.
Whenever like that, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Come on, Bob, get up there.
Come on, Bob.
Come on, Bob.
I didn't know you were going to do it. Okay. Hi, my name's Bob Clemens, 812 Lamppost Lane, Aston, PA. Just want to circle back for my monthly on PICO project. This reminder, last month, amongst my other concerns, I shared specifically concerns that PICO and their contractors of choice are not fulfilling their obligations to clean up their messes. In particular, last time I gave you pictures of spills that go back to November, of last year, that still need to be cleaned up, and I don't think they're going to be able to clean them up. And I also shared another picture of one of their pieces of equipment, it's Lehigh Valley Underground, that was leaking on Anvil. I want to preface everything that this is not directed at all at Bill or Fred. You guys have been great. After the meeting last week, prompt action started, they came out and swept up, but reality is they did not do it. They have not been able to resolve the issues to date. And there's just 2 spots that I shared. All of Weir is like that. It's on Williams, it's on Blackthorn, it's all over. And what's really disheartening is, if you remember going all the way back to November, my concern is that PICO's not being transparent, PICO's not sharing what they're doing, they don't give you the whole story, and my worry was they are not going to come to fruition on the resolution of the issues that come up. And as recently as this week, they were now communicating to Bill that it's not their equipment, it was somebody else's. And that is absolute fabrication. I even got some new pictures, if you want. If you remember, I got like 6 or 7 copies that you guys can have. Last month, I gave you pictures, and then I gave you an update from Monday, And you'll see that the same situation exists. And the one on Anvil, that's actually a picture from last month that shows the equipment leaking, They come out, they try to clean it, it's not coming up. So, my question is, what's PICO going to do to resolve it? And I want to thank Bill and Fred, for your continued diligence, because they're not coming back with any resolution, and now the resolution is starting to migrate that it's not their problem. So, and I did have one other question that I wanted to ask, and I won't go into a lot of detail. Are we going to be replacing Tuscany altogether? Just, I mean, that's even worse than the Pico stuff. For those of you who haven't traveled on Tuscany, it goes from Concord Road all the way down to Lamppost Lane, and it's just one big cut-up out of the road. So hopefully somebody's going to be looking at doing that. And again, that's not Pico, that's
Chester Word.
Yeah, they're gonna, the upper portion, they have to fully pave curb to curb, that's from Lamppost to what I'll call South Wickersham. And then the rest of it, they have to mill and pave half the road.
Okay. Yeah, but that's really, it's rough.
Yeah.
And also going back to Pico, and Mr. McGinn or Mr. Higgins, I know you said Pico is going to come back and do their resolutions. Everything today's been temporary. Supposedly this project was supposed to be done February. We are now almost done April, and they're not done. We still have the barriers out in our yards. Some of the stuff the cutouts that are being done in roads and driveways and stuff, some of that stuff's starting to wash away. So somebody's going to need to continue to press the dime with this project, because they've not demonstrated to me that they're going to want to be taking any responsibility or fulfill their obligations.
So I just want to report real quickly. So today at 4:30, I did receive correspondence from Michelle Garrity, our PICO representative. I'm just going to read real quick. She indicates that Sam Payros, who's also copied on this email, is working with the appropriate individuals to schedule a walk down with me to review the stains and other items. As soon as he has time, he'll reach out to me. I'm on top of this, Bob. We met yesterday. I think were you with me yesterday?
No.
Well, we had the public works with us yesterday. We know some of those things that you're talking about here, they may be too deep into the ground right now. We may not be able to do that, but I am going to have a walk down with upper level management now, and we are still working to resolve all the issues related to PICO and that contract.
Again, I appreciate that. I implore you to not let them, or to not accept what exists today. Because if they may not be able to get it out, but they can do something, whether it's seal coating where all these things are, to make it look great, they can do something, so.
As I mentioned to you yesterday, it's my intent to make sure that they get resolution on that. Yes. Whether it's seal coat, paste, whatever we gotta do, we're gonna make the customers happy.
Appreciate that, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
See you next month.
What we do, drive that half of the place out? Would anyone else like to comment? Okay. All right, seeing none, we want to move to other business. Okay. And Commissioner Tinsley, you're on.
I'll be very brief with the Pendelco ones. Summer courses from the district, they have been recently posted for the summer enrichment. Kindergarten, just a PSA again, I know I said it last month, kindergarten registration started, it's completely online on Pendelco's website. For the families that have children, and just FYI, this is the testing season, so it's the annual PSSAs that are occurring soon. I do want to call these names. There's 19 students that got all conference in the wintertime. There was almost every single weight class from the wrestling team got it. John DiRio, Tim Kearney, Brecken Strickland, Hunter Delaney, Brandon Carr, Alex Alvarez, Darren Miniconzi, the Patrick boys, Gunnar Dalton, and Will Caden, as well as the first female wrestler to get it, Sun Valley, James. Seven in basketball, Blaze Eldridge, Kaden Robinson, Noah Griffin, Aaron Freeman, Bro Wright, Dorian Novotny, and Luca D'Amico. And then we have one for swimming, which she did very well in states, was Carrie D'Amico. So I just wanted to make sure, so maybe we'll even get some more students even to watch our Facebook Live so they can hear their names. And sorry for my voice from coaching and reffing, so thanks for having the mics, Mr. DeFeo and Ms. Pittman. I just finished my 100-day letter to the 6 board residents, so I'm just making it a PSA. that if you did not receive it, please contact me via phone, email. I also shared it on several websites, at least that I know of, within the 6th. And last but not least, I've kind of been talking about that, and I know Mr. Goose will talk about it. One of the highlights in that letter was about how I'm working, we're all working, not just me, with colleagues, the annual road paving project. So at least PSA for the wards, but especially selfishly, especially for my ward, you're going to see signs in the next couple of months related to that. And that's all I have this month.
Mr. Berry.
I just have congratulations to Officer Michaels on his promotion to full-time. Thank you.
Commissioner Prendergast.
Yeah, at the same time, I want to congratulate Mark Michaels for his getting a job. I congratulate his sister for her retirement, and I just want to congratulate Ikabuchi for getting the board's approval. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Dougherty?
Okay, a few things. First, I want to announce the grand opening of the Newman Knight Center. This is the Cybercrime Center partnership between Aston Township Police and the University. Ribbon cutting for this center will be May 2nd at the Abyssinia Center at Newman University. Second, I want to welcome Officer Mark Michaels to full-time service, and I want to congratulate Sister Betty on her retirement.
Ms. Bowden?
Congratulations to Officer Michaels. And don't forget Tuesday's election day. Let them all get out to vote. I support our country. Thank you.
Commissioner McGinn?
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. Congratulations, obviously, Officer Michaels. I want to thank PennDOT in terms of, it's nice to see Concord and Bowley Road on the early part of the paving season. That was much needed. I'm glad that that's done. Commissioner Tinsley brought up in terms of paving. One thing I know I get a number of comments about, in terms of certainly have utility work in the second ward as well. And special thanks in terms of Joe Bascusa, our engineer, worked closely with Joe and Aqua, who did that work to essentially, rather than do a partial paving, negotiate with them in terms of to put money into the township and the program so that the full road gets paved as we do our paving there and have a nice, clean and new road, in some of those areas along Urban and Carolyn Drive. Lastly, in terms of, again, we talk in the new building, new construction, another milestone tonight in terms of with 5021 Pennell Road. Really want to thank Colliers, the staff, particularly Mike Madge and Joe Bascuso. It was a long process to get to this point. We had put a $1.75 million offer out there. We exceeded that offer price, and a reminder that's key because that's dollars that are going to go in and invest into the new township building, right? Dollars that we don't have to pull from somewhere else to sell that property, not to mention the potential property taxes that'll come from that with a development that would include retail and some residential. And again, in terms of West Ranch Trail, another step in that process. On both, there's going to be ample time for questions, community comment, and as we look forward into doing things that I think are going to be to the benefit of all Aston Township residents, continue to make it a great place to live, and hopefully attract more people to the township and help with our tax base. So that's all I had tonight, Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you.
All good.
Administrators?
All good.
Kelly?
Congratulations to Officer Michaels.
Gentlemen, the professionals?
Yeah, just a happy Passover to those who celebrate it next week.
Okay. I also want to congratulate Sister for her anniversary. Congrats to Officer Michaels for being full-time now. And I want to remind everybody that April 23rd is the primary election. Please come out and vote. It's a great opportunity that we have in this country, and let's not let it just sit. We should all do what we think's right and vote. And I guess Joe covered a lot of things about the professionals and what they've done here and dealing with Colliers, and also I'll leave that be. We're really happy and anxious about the new township building, about the the development of the property that Colliers found Akabuchi for, and I'm just very happy about what's going on. So with that, we need a motion.
Make a motion.
So moved. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out.